Jane Fonda is sharing insight into the last days of Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner.
He looked full of life, glowing with energy, and just hours later, everything changed. That's how Jane Fonda described seeing her longtime friend Rob Reiner shortly before a moment that left Hollywood stunned. What unfolded that night revealed a story of fame, friendship, and life's fragile edge. No one imagined what was coming. It was meant to be an evening of laughter, music, and holiday spirit as Hollywood gathered beneath Christmas lights at Conan O'Brien's Pacific Palisades home. Among the guests was Jane Fonda, at 88, surrounded by friends Rob and Michelle Reiner. They posed for photos, exchanged hugs, and reconnected with faces. Jane later recalled how healthy and happy they looked, with no hint of what lay ahead. Beneath the sparkle and smiles, no one could have guessed how that image would fade.
That image will haunt me as it has haunted other people.
That same loving couple was later found unresponsive inside their Brentwood home, a scene so devastating that even seasoned LAPD officers were shaken. The emergency call came at 3:38 p.m., and their daughter's screams echoed through the quiet neighborhood by nightfall. Soon, headlines asked the chilling question, what happened inside the Reiner home? The next day, Jane Fonda shared her grief on Instagram. She wrote that she had seen them the night before, that they looked healthy and happy, and that she was reeling. Her words became more than sorrow. They were a reminder of how fragile life can be, even for Hollywood's figures. No one saw it coming, and when it finally broke, it changed everything. What unfolded during those final hours, and what did Jane notice that night that left the world speechless? This story isn't about blame. It's about understanding the moments that led to one of Hollywood's shocking heartbreaks. Every detail shared here aims to offer light and perspective, not judgment.
The two-time Oscar winner said she met with the longtime couple just one day before they were found dead at their Los Angeles home December 14.
Back at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party, laughter filled the air and glasses clinked, but not everyone felt the same warmth. Toward the back of the room, a few guests noticed something felt off. Nick Reiner, Rob's son, was pacing restlessly, his eyes darting, his movements tense, as if he were searching for something no one else could see. Whispers spread as people noticed he didn't seem himself, asking odd questions and fixating on who in the room was truly famous. What began as awkward curiosity slowly turned into a tension everyone could feel. Then it happened. A sharp exchange between father and son cut through the hum of the party. Witnesses said Rob Reiner stayed calm but firm, attempting to guide Nick outside to cool down. In seconds, Nick's tone shifted from desperate to angry, and the entire room froze. One guest later said the air suddenly went cold. The music kept playing, people still smiled for photos, but the energy had changed completely. Jane Fonda noticed it too, Rob's face tight yet controlled as he placed a steady hand on his son's shoulder and gently led him away. Moments later, the Reiners quietly left. Cold December winds swept the street as their car disappeared, carrying away the night's last trace of laughter.
The Reiners had attended a star-studded Christmas party hosted by Conan O'Brien on December 13th, sources confirmed to multiple outlets. The following day, police responded to the Reiners' residence in the Brentwood neighborhood around 3:40 p.m., according to a press release from the Los Angeles Police Department.
For most guests, it was just another awkward moment, a brief flash of family tension that faded as the party moved on. But for Rob and Michelle Reiner, that car ride home marked the start of something far heavier. Behind the closed doors of that vehicle, the quiet argument was far from over. By morning, it had only deepened. Brentwood woke beneath a calm December sun, the peaceful street lined with palm trees and perfect lawns. The Reiner house sat still, holiday lights from the night before faintly glowing, as if clinging to warmth already gone. A wreath hung untouched on the front door, but inside, the air felt heavy with an unsettling stillness. No voices, no footsteps, only silence that felt too loud. By mid-afternoon, concern turned into fear. Roy Reiner, their daughter, had been calling her parents all morning. When hours passed with no answer, she got into the car with a close friend and drove straight to the house. What awaited her would stay forever. As Roy stepped inside, the familiar scent of pine and cinnamon candles still lingered, remnants of holiday cheer frozen in time.
In an Instagram tribute December 15th, next to a photo of the couple, the actress writes in part, quote, "I saw them night before last, looking healthy and happy. I am reeling with grief.
But something immediately felt wrong. The quiet was too deep, too still. Upstairs, in the master bedroom, Roy stopped cold. Her father lay there, completely unresponsive, her mother close by. For a moment, she couldn't move. The shock hit like a wave, stealing her breath. Her friend fumbled for the phone, dialing 911 with shaking hands, voice cracking as she begged for help. Within minutes, Brentwood's calm shattered. Sirens cut through the street as patrol cars and fire trucks flooded the scene. Neighbors gathered outside, whispering in disbelief. As police taped off the property, two of Hollywood's most beloved figures, known for kindness, humor, and activism, were suddenly gone from sight. No one could understand how it happened. Detectives worked quietly beneath flashing red and blue lights, faces tense, voices low. There were no signs of forced entry, no robbery, nothing chaotic or random, just a devastating mystery that left the community stunned and searching for answers. By evening, the Reiner home became the center of a media storm. News vans lined the street, reporters murmured into cameras, and helicopters circled overhead, all trying to grasp what had unfolded inside.
That's why there's an urgency. We really have to, we have to get together and unify now.
Yet behind the flashing lights and frantic headlines, investigators moved with care. Every clue mattered, every detail capable of shifting the story. Inside the home, detectives pieced together the final hours of Rob and Michelle Reiner's lives, and the scene spoke quietly, emotionally. There was no struggle, no chaos, only a stillness that suggested exhaustion and heartbreak. On the bedside table sat two untouched glasses of water and an open book, its pages folded mid-chapter, as if someone planned to return but never did. The air felt frozen. As the investigation unfolded, attention turned to what may have weighed on the Reiners. Close friends began sharing subdued memories. Rob had seemed unusually reflective in recent weeks, speaking about legacy and time passing. Michelle, they said, appeared distant, as if her thoughts were somewhere far from the world around her. They were Hollywood royalty, yet behind closed doors, they were human, facing the same fears and pressures everyone hides. Jane Fonda visited the house. Cameras caught her at the gate. She said they were love, and its silence.
The pair's shared passion for activism, the 87-year-old adds, quote, "Rob and Michelle Reiner were wonderful, caring, smart, funny, generous people, always coming up with ideas for how to make the world better, kind."
As Brentwood slowly returned to normal, one truth became impossible to ignore. This wasn't just another Hollywood tragedy. It was a reminder that even the brightest stars can carry shadows hidden from the spotlight. It hit uncomfortably close. But when the first name of interest surfaced, even veteran investigators were stunned. It wasn't a stranger or an obsessed fan. It was someone inside the Reiner family. By nightfall, whispers of disbelief had erupted into a full media frenzy. News vans crowded the quiet Brentwood street, satellite dishes aimed at the darkened home as reporters waited. Then confirmation came. A breaking update from LAPD headquarters flashed across screens everywhere. An arrest had been made. The suspect wasn't an outsider. It was their own son, Nick Reiner, a name that sent a chill through Hollywood. People were shaken. Nick wasn't just any name. He was the son Rob loved fiercely, once calling both his greatest challenge and greatest love. From the outside, they seemed unbreakable, a family weathering every storm together. Behind the fame, though, life was far more complicated. Nick's life had been marked by uphill battles, years spent searching for peace and stability.
As a kind of a cruel man in many ways. I mean, cruel to you, a bad father, cold, distant.
Cold rather than cruel.
Yes.
Rob stood by him through it all, guiding him through recovery programs and setbacks, hoping this time would be different. In 2015, father and son turned their pain into art, co-writing Being Charlie, a film about a young man trying to escape struggles and rebuild his life. It symbolized healing, proof that love and persistence could overcome anything. Now the story felt prophetic, like a warning no one recognized. When police found Nick near USC later that night, witnesses said he appeared distant. Officers reported no resistance, no aggression, only confusion. The scene left law enforcement and Hollywood insiders stunned, struggling to grasp how a family known for love and resilience had been pulled into tragedy. By sunrise, the Nick Reiner story completely consumed Hollywood.
Feel, or sometimes made to feel, that you're not good enough, that in order to be loved you have to be perfect. And of course we're not meant to be perfect, right? God is perfect. We're meant to be complete.
Every news outlet carried the same headline: a director's son in custody after a family tragedy. Paparazzi camped outside the LAPD station, flashbulbs firing with every movement near the door. Inside, investigators worked through the night, assembling a timeline, the truth twisting with every new detail. Nick sat alone in a quiet holding room, his hands folded, his eyes distant. He wasn't combative or cold, just lost in disbelief. Detectives asked question after question, but his replies came in fragments, sometimes barely a whisper. One officer later said it felt like he was present physically, yet somewhere else entirely. Meanwhile, Hollywood erupted with speculation. Friends, colleagues, and fans flooded social media with grief and confusion. Some defended Nick, pointing to his efforts to rebuild his life. Others struggled to understand how things unraveled. Jane Fonda posted again, writing that there was more pain in this story than the world could see. Her words cut through the noise, reminding everyone, behind the headlines were real people.
But underneath there was the same issue,
man.
which is that they didn't know, nor did I, how to be intimate.
As the investigation continued, police said no outside evidence suggested foul play from anyone else. Everything pointed back to the Reiner home in the final hours of that stormy night. Pressure on the department grew by the hour as the world demanded answers. Yet even with mounting evidence, the feeling lingered that something still wasn't right. Close family friends questioned whether Nick truly understood what had happened, or if more of the story remained hidden beneath the chaos and cameras. One truth loomed. This was no longer just a Hollywood scandal, it was a devastating family unraveling in public view. The same world that once celebrated Rob Reiner's compassion now faced a painful reality. Sometimes even the strongest love isn't enough to save the people we fight hardest for. As investigators dug deeper, one voice rose from the grief: Jane Fonda. The morning after the world learned of Rob and Michelle Reiner's passing, Jane sat alone.
However, the pair were longtime friends, and he was a major supporter of her activism project, the Committee for the First Amendment.
Messages, news alerts, and calls flooded in, yet none of it felt real. Just 48 hours earlier, she had been beside them, laughing, talking, posing for photos beneath the soft glow of Christmas lights. Now she stared at headlines, barely able to process it. In that raw moment of disbelief, Jane did what she had always done. She spoke from the heart. She opened Instagram, posted a photo of Rob and Michelle, smiling arm in arm, and wrote words that silenced the internet. They were wonderful, caring, funny, generous people. I saw them the night before, healthy and happy. I am reeling with grief, stunned. The post hit like an emotional wave. Every line carried weight. No reporter could capture the mix of shock, love, and hollow sorrow that comes from losing everything.
But you can also feel how much I love him, right?
Well,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, you spent all of your life trying to please him.
Rob and Michelle Reiner weren't just another Hollywood couple. They were the embodiment of compassion and artistic truth. Their story began in 1989 on a film set when Michelle, a gifted photographer with a rare eye for emotion, caught the attention of Rob while he was directing When Harry Met Sally. That spark ignited a love story lasting more than 30 decades. Their bond was built on laughter, shared purpose, and a deep commitment to using success for something meaningful. Together, they raised 3 children, Jake, Nick, and Roy, instilling values that defined their lives: empathy, honesty, and standing up for what's right. Rob's career was legendary, from Stand By Me to A Few Good Men, shaping stories that captured what it means to be human, raw, vulnerable, and real. Yet beyond fame, Rob was the kind of father who showed up for school plays, family dinners, and bedtime talks. Beside him was Michelle, his balance, graceful, grounded, and endlessly kind. She wasn't just his partner in life, she was the quiet strength behind every success in an industry where fame burns fast and fades faster. Rob and Michelle Reiner were different. They lived with purpose, stayed grounded, and never lost sight of what mattered. Their home became a gathering place for artists, activists, and dreamers, filled with laughter, debate, and creativity. They weren't just stars, they were mentors, parents, and friends who carried warmth wherever they went. As days passed, grief in Los Angeles became collective, a mourning felt personally by everyone touched by Rob's films or Michelle's kindness.
On arrival, officers discovered 2 victims who were subsequently identified as Rob and Michelle. According to the LAPD, Nick Reiner, the couple's 32-year-old son, has been arrested and booked on suspicion of murder in connection to the case.
Tributes poured in from around the world as actors, directors, and fans shared memories, photos, and moments honoring the couple's legacy. Streets once glowing with holiday lights now felt muted. Even Hollywood's biggest names spoke of the Reiners not with glamour, but with gratitude. Behind the scenes, the investigation continued. Quiet, methodical, and increasingly complex, detectives reviewed messages, phone records, and interviews, searching for clarity around the final hours. What emerged wasn't scandal, but heartbreak, a family strained by emotion, love, and misunderstanding. The deeper investigators looked, the clearer it became this wasn't a story of villains and victims. It was about people overwhelmed by pressure and pain. Amid the noise, Jane Fonda remained a steady voice. She refused to let speculation replace truth. Rob and Michelle were light, she said firmly. They believed in compassion, even when life was difficult. That's what she would remember. Her words echoed across interviews and headlines, reminding everyone the Reiner story shouldn't end in tragedy, but in the love and impact they left behind. As cameras eventually turned away and the world moved on, one truth remained. Rob and Michelle Reiner's legacy wasn't defined by how their story ended, but by the kindness and courage they lived every day. Michelle had always seen the world through her camera, raw and unfiltered, capturing life as it truly was, not how people wanted it to look.
Despite Jane and Rob both being prominent figures in Hollywood, the two never worked on a film together.
Friends say the Reiner home was always alive with warmth and energy, laughter echoing through the halls, and long talks about politics, justice, and art. It was a place where creativity met compassion, where guests felt seen and valued. But behind that glow, there were shadows. For years, the family faced quiet struggles, especially Nick's personal battles, that tested their love again and again. Still, Rob and Michelle never lost faith in him. They believed love could heal, that caring deeply could bring someone back from dark moments. That same love story, the one that inspired movie endings and political movements, ended in heartbreak, leaving a legacy both beautiful and broken. It reminded everyone that even the kindest souls carry pain unseen from the outside. Long before Rob Reiner became one of Hollywood's most respected storytellers, he was Carl Reiner's son, a boy watching his father make the world laugh. Carl, the legendary creator of The Dick Van Dyke Show, taught him that success wasn't fame or fortune, but kindness, integrity, and humor. Their bond was built on creativity, respect, and pride across generations. When Carl passed peacefully in 2020 at 98, Rob called him his guiding light. That loss changed him, making him softer and more reflective, more aware of how precious family truly was. But 5 years later, that legacy of love and laughter shattered forever.
To me, it epitomized on the screen that wonderful all-American hero, lovely, gentle, charismatic man.
The Reiner name, once a symbol of laughter, warmth, and unity, had suddenly become tied to heartbreak. Across Hollywood, friends said that when the news broke, many thought of Carl Reiner, the beloved patriarch who spent his life celebrating love, humor, and family. The contrast between that joyful legacy and the sorrow that followed was almost unbearable. For decades, the Reiners represented everything good about Hollywood, a dynasty built not on scandal or ego, but on sincerity, talent, and heart. Carl passed his wisdom to Rob, and Rob carried it forward to his children. It was a family shaped by creativity and laughter, yet somewhere along the way, the pain of one generation quietly weighed on the next. The haunting contrast between a father who left the world in peace and a son whose story ended in tragedy. As the shock settled, the entertainment world seemed to pause. Within hours, tributes flooded social media and late-night stages alike. Michelle Obama, her voice trembling on Jimmy Kimmel Live, said she and Barack had planned to see the Reiners that very evening. They were two of the most decent, courageous people you could meet, she said softly, tears in her eyes. Billy Crystal called Rob the brother he never had.
Even if you didn't agree with each other, you knew that you each had the right to speak what you felt without danger. And my God, if we lose that, I mean, our fathers and grandfathers fought wars to protect that right.
His voice cracked with emotion. Barbra Streisand posted a photo of the two laughing together, writing that he made people believe in humanity, and now the world was grieving its fragility. Her words spread quickly, drawing thousands of comments from fans who had grown up with Rob's films and Michelle's artistry. Outside the Reiner home, candles flickered through the night as neighbors, friends, and strangers gathered quietly along the sidewalk. They shared memories, held hands, and honored a family whose love had touched millions, even as hearts were breaking. The once quiet Brentwood Street became a sea of flowers, candles, and handwritten letters. Movie posters leaned against the gate, signed with messages like, "Thank you for the memories," and "You changed lives." Reporters kept their distance, speaking softly, aware this wasn't just another Hollywood headline. It was a national heartbreak felt by everyone touched by Rob and Michelle's kindness. Among the grieving, their daughter Tracy shared a brief but devastating message online. She wrote that she came from the greatest family and didn't know what to say, still in shock. Her words spread faster than any news alert, breaking hearts across the internet. Soon after, Jake and Romy Reiner released a joint statement, writing simply that their parents weren't just their parents, but their best friends. Those words captured what made the Reiners special, not fame, but deep, genuine love. That night, Los Angeles mourned together. Several landmarks dimmed their lights in tribute: the Hollywood sign, City Hall, and the El Capitan Theater, glowing faintly as if bowing in silence to two lives that left a lasting mark.
In the living room or the bedroom, with their intimates, they don't know how to show up. They don't know how to love.
The outpouring of love only confirmed what everyone already knew. Rob and Michelle Reiner weren't just admired, they were beloved. Yet amid the tributes, one painful question lingered. Could this tragedy have been stopped? Behind the smiles, interviews, and red carpets, the Reiners had been fighting a private battle few ever saw. Rob and Michelle tried everything to help Nick find peace: therapy, family interventions, spiritual retreats, anything that might restore stability. Despite constant support and hope, nothing reached him for long. Their love never wavered, but the struggle quietly grew heavier, hidden behind Hollywood's lights. Friends say Rob would drop everything, cancel meetings, skip events, just to sit beside Nick in recovery sessions, determined to keep showing up no matter how many times it took. Michelle poured her heart into quiet acts of love, slipping handwritten notes under her son's door to remind him he was never alone. They weren't naive parents. They were desperate ones, holding hope with both hands, believing love might outlast darkness. Neighbors often saw Rob and Nick jogging in the early mornings, their strides steady, their conversations soft but purposeful. They tried to rebuild what chaos had taken, to reclaim normalcy in a world that felt unpredictable. Some days it worked. They laughed, grabbed coffee, talked about classic films like before, but those moments were fragile, easily broken by relapse, guilt, and the endless cycle of heartbreak and repair. In private, Michelle once confided she feared the sadness might win. Those words echo now, a reminder of how much they gave and how hard they fought. What makes Story devastating is the effort they gave.
One of the wonderful things about getting older is that you can learn to understand your parents and forgive them, and I've forgiven both.
They faced the stigma of addiction, not with shame, but with compassion. They chose empathy when it would have been easier to give up. Yet even the strongest hearts can only carry so much. When Jane Fonda later reflected on that final night, the laughter, the Christmas lights, the warmth in the room, she wasn't just remembering friends, she was remembering two souls who never stopped fighting for love, even when it cost them everything. In the end, the story of Rob and Michelle Reiner isn't only about tragedy, it's about the fragile beauty of devotion, the weight of family, and how even the brightest lights can flicker in silence. Their final night stands as a haunting reminder that behind fame, cameras, and applause, real people fight invisible battles every day. Jane Fonda's words, simple and deeply human, cut through the noise. They looked healthy and happy. That single sentence carried more truth than any press release ever could. Sometimes it's all it takes to realize how little we truly see of another person's pain, even when it's right in front of us. Hollywood, as it always does, moved forward. New films hit theaters, red carpets glowed under flashing cameras. The world chased the next headline. But for those who knew the Reiners, this loss didn't fade. It lingered as both warming and memory, a reminder of love that fought hard and gave everything, yet couldn't shield the people it tried to save. Somewhere in that ache lived the most human truth of all. Sometimes even love needs saving. Weeks later, the lights around Brentwood dimmed, but the story of Rob and Michelle Reiner refused to fade. Their names filled conversations in cafes, studios, and online threads, a bittersweet mix of remembrance and disbelief. People spoke of them not as celebrities, but as neighbors, mentors, family. Even those who never met them felt the loss personally. In the months that followed, tributes deepened. A scholarship was created in their name, dedicated to young filmmakers and photographers using art to tell stories of empathy and resilience. It was exactly the legacy they would have wanted, creativity with a conscience. Friends rallied around it, determined to keep their vision alive. If love couldn't save them, maybe their love can save others. Jane Fonda, still shaken, later spoke at a private memorial on the Paramount lot. Standing beneath soft lights, surrounded by those the Reiners had inspired, her voice trembled. They taught us that kindness isn't weakness, it's a revolution. The room fell into a silence so deep it felt sacred.
Yeah, she did her best. They both did. They both did their best.
Even as time moved on, reminders of Rob and Michelle lingered everywhere, from Rob's unforgettable films airing late at night to Michelle's black and white portraits circulating through Los Angeles galleries. Each piece felt like a whisper from the past, echoing the love, humor, and humanity that defined their lives. And while Hollywood resumed its rhythm, premieres, red carpets, endless chatter, the Reiner story stood apart. It wasn't just another tragedy in the headlines. It became a mirror reflecting both the brilliance and fragility of the human heart. What Rob and Michelle left behind wasn't fame. It was proof that even when love can't conquer everything, it can still light the world. Weeks passed, but the ache never fully faded. Their story grew into something larger than loss, a reflection of how fragile love, family, and fame can be. Brentwood slowly returned to quiet, yet the house that once echoed with laughter remained a symbol of beauty and heartbreak. People continued stopping at the gate, leaving flowers, letters, and movie tickets folded with notes saying, "Thank you for reminding us to care." Inside the industry, Rob's colleagues began dedicating their work to him. Writers, directors, and producers spoke openly about how his compassion shaped their paths. One filmmaker said, "Rob didn't just make movies, he made people believe in themselves." That sentiment rippled across Hollywood, a legacy no tragedy could erase. Michelle's photography found new life. Long admired for its honesty, her work appeared in galleries nationwide. Each image, raw and emotional, felt like a window into her soul. Friends said she simply saw people the way they wanted to be seen. At the Academy's annual tribute gala, a montage of their lives played across the screen. Scenes from Rob's films, family photos, and candid shots Michelle captured on set. The audience rose in a standing ovation lasting minutes. Jane Fonda sat near the front, hands clasped, tears glimmering as the screen faded. Later, she said softly, "They gave the world their hearts, and she hoped people would do the same." And maybe that's the truth of their story. Not how it ended, but what it left behind. A call to love harder, see deeper, and never underestimate the strength it takes to keep showing up when no one is watching.
He also said that he was a big supporter of free speech. So I'm pissed at his henchmen who are making him do things that he obviously doesn't want to do.
A year later, the world still hadn't forgotten. Rob and Michelle Reiner's story had moved from headlines into history, yet the emotions it stirred never faded. Documentaries were underway, books were being written, and their legacy continued to inspire filmmakers, artists, and activists worldwide. What once felt like unbearable grief slowly transformed into determination to honor their lives with meaning. In Los Angeles, a new foundation launched in their memory. The Reiner Initiative for Creative Healing offered mental health support to artists struggling behind the scenes, funded by friends, colleagues, and fans. Its mission was simple but powerful: help those like Nick facing invisible battles too often ignored. "If this can spare even one family the same heartbreak," Jane Fonda said at the launch, "then Rob and Michelle's love still wins." Her words were met with applause that carried both pain and hope. At the dedication ceremony, a video montage played scenes from Rob's films, Michelle's photographs, and home videos of the couple dancing in their kitchen, laughing as if the outside world didn't exist. It reminded everyone that before tragedy, there was joy, real, messy, human joy. The night ended with a candlelight vigil on the Paramount lot, where friends and fans held candles as Billy Crystal read a line from Stand By Me. "I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. The crowd fell silent, the words hanging heavy in the cool air. In that silence, people didn't just mourn, they understood. Behind every camera flash and movie premiere were hearts, families, and fragile lives. The Reiners had spent their years reminding the world that kindness still mattered in a city that often forgot. Through every story told, every foundation built, and every heart they touched, their light continued to shine, quietly, long after the credits rolled. By the second anniversary of their passing, Rob and Michelle Reiner's legacy had taken on a life of its own, bigger than fame, bigger than Hollywood, reaching across the world. Their story was no longer spoken with shock, but with reverence. They became symbols of love, resilience, and the bittersweet truth that even the brightest stars can carry hidden pain. Film schools began teaching entire courses on Rob Reiner's storytelling, how he captured the human spirit without cynicism, how he created characters that felt alive, flawed, and full of heart. Professors often ended lectures with clips from Stand By Me, reminding students that great art doesn't come from perfection, but from empathy. Michelle's photography, once a quiet corner of the art world, blossomed into a movement. Young photographers across the country created projects in her honor,
focusing on authenticity, emotion, and raw honesty. At a New York exhibit titled Through Michelle's Eyes, her most famous portrait, a black and white image of Rob gazing into the sunset, hung beneath a single quote, "Love people for who they are, not who you wish they were." Visitors stood in silence before it, many leaving with tears. Back in Los Angeles, Jane Fonda became the heartbeat of remembrance. Every December, she hosted a private gathering where friends and family shared memories, not of tragedy, but of laughter. The dinner parties, the creative sparks that once filled the Reiner home. It wasn't a memorial anymore, it was a celebration. As the night ended, someone played In My Life by the Beatles, candles flickering softly in the breeze. Those who attended said it felt like the Reiners were still there, laughing somewhere close, proud of what their love had built. Because in the end, their story wasn't about loss, it was about legacy. A reminder that kindness outlives chaos, that love outlasts pain, that even after the lights go out, some souls keep shining. And that is the heartbreaking, powerful story of Rob and Michelle Reiner, two people who gave the world laughter, love, and lessons that will never fade. Their journey reminds us that behind the glitz and glamour are real hearts, real battles, and real beauty in simply trying to love without limits. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Show some love. Like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's untold stories, and share it with someone who believes compassion still matters. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us which part of their story stayed with you, or how it made you reflect on love, family, or resilience. Every voice adds to the conversation, and your words might help someone else see the world a little differently.